Right, well, comics review, second time lucky. This stopped asking for my audio and camera settings, so I'm hoping the good microphone's working. It was last time. I had to cancel the stream and replay it. Anyway, this is a whatever stream once again. My streams are basically just videos when I can't be bothered to pre-record and edit, so just put the webcam on and waffle. And as has become tradition, apparently, use tonight's poison. They've already got the Cherry Blossom Asahi Super Dry out in the shops, and apparently it's spring already. Doesn't feel like it. Anyway, you might notice another change too. It's considerably darker. I'm up in my upstairs, and I'm sitting on the floor, and the ceiling is here. The ceiling's there, so yeah, not really a room. It's like 1.5 rooms. But my bed used to be up here, but heat rises, so it got really ridiculously hot in summer, but in winter it gets slightly less freezing, so now my bed is downstairs and folds up, and upstairs is my my man cave, I guess. A long time ago I had my retro gaming set up here, and now it's up here once again, and many bookshelves all around me, which don't want to move the camera around too much, I'll probably drop it. Kind of hemmed in here on my little table. So as you may have seen from the thumbnail, I've got a few Marvel magazines recently. I think I mentioned these before actually in a previous stream, but whatever. We have Conan Saga, which is not Conan the Barbarian, but also about Conan, and it has comic strips about him, so good enough I suppose. That was about 600 yen from Manga. I swear I've talked about these before, whatever. And for years and years there was a big Conan black and white Marvel Essentials book in there that no one was buying, and then they put a few of these Conan magazines out for a cheaper price, so people could see what like preview Conan. And yeah, that Essentials book disappeared pretty much immediately after that. I wanted it, but I didn't get it. Anyway, that's one Conan I have, and I have another one which is bags in a bag for Daiso laminator films. This one is, oh, this is actually Savage Sword of Conan. Got this one a bit more recently. And also it has a Solomon Kane in it, which is pretty good. Comic strips, of course. Black and white, US magazine size comic strips. Conan with several chapters, and then Solomon Kane at the back. I'm sure I saw one with washes, but these just black and white line art, no washes. Actually, no, Conan has some washes. Right, okay, Conan has some washes. But yeah, these are from 1975, I believe. About 100 pages. Really good black and white comics and articles for $1. Can't believe they used to put out something this good every month. By Marvel too, although for some reason it doesn't say Marvel on it. It says Curtis. Oh yeah, this is Cole and the Barbarians, volume number 1. So that was a kind of a find. Normally Manga bumps up the price on number 1 and number 2, no matter what it is. But for some reason this was also 600, the same as the Conan ones. So I've not read this one yet, but it's the one that's in best condition. Spine's nice and solid. It was also $1 back in the day, which I believe is also 1975. And yes, Curtis magazines, but it's actually just, it's Marvel. Just for some reason Marvel put their magazines out under the Curtis name for a while. So yeah, fun black and white 70s magazine comic things. And yeah, 100 pages, great black and white illustrations with washes sometimes, and articles for $1 every month. Can't believe they used to put out something that good every month. And this bag is not meant for this size. Well, this is actually the bag from Manga, but Manga kind of have like bagging machines that just wrap plastic around something and seal it so the size of what they bag is the size of the bag. So yeah, pretty snug fit. Not normally one for keeping things bagged and boarded. These aren't boarded, but yeah, they're getting a bit yellowed and the covers are kind of crumbly, so just want to keep them together. What else can I waffle about? A bit of beer first. I wonder how the yeah, kind of experimental stream, as well as being upstairs. Also, my dishwasher's running downstairs, and it seems quiet to me, but apparently microphones pick it up better than my ears do. I was having a training for my job over Microsoft Teams, and they were complaining they could hear the dishwasher. Speaking of 70s American magazines, in the... I can't find any now. This is embarrassing. They're all right here. Okay, in a previous stream I mentioned Mike Shane, who I want to do a proper video about one day. We got one from the 70s, okay, the more standard 70s cover design. Blah blah blah. They're all right. Can't find any now. Okay, now painted Mike Shane cover from an older story. The photo covers were from the 70s. I think Mike Shane ran from like 1932, I think, maybe a bit later, maybe 1937, I can't remember now, up to about 1975, but I always just headcanon all of them to the 50s, unless they mention rationing or something, then those are headcanon to like 44 to 45. Everything else is headcanon to the 50s. Just because I can imagine the cars being cooler. Anyway, in the 70s, as well as the paperbacks, there was also a Mike Shane magazine, which I found one copy of in my Mike Shane source in Kobe. The shop's got hardly any English language books, but it's got a few, but they're kind of academic, but all of the fiction they have seems to be Mike Shane and nothing else. Kobe's a really good market for English language paperbacks, I don't know why. So yeah, this has 3 stories. One is a Mike Shane, and then there's 2 others. Mike Shane is illustrated. There's the standard picture of Mike Shane, and it's normally painted in colour, and yeah, black and whiteifying it's done it no favours. It's like a skull. Okay, not many illustrations, mostly just like spot illustrations of the characters. That one's actually supposed to be black and white. Chief Will Gentry, one of the there's 2 or 3 cops that Mike Shane works with, but Will Gentry's like the main one. He's in the Miami... No. I can't remember now, I haven't read of Mike Shane for ages. Yeah. He works in Miami most of the time, and Will Gentry's not in the Miami Police Department. Or maybe he is in the Miami Police Department, but like another detective who hates him, but is in a different jurisdiction, is always trying to interfere with Mike Shane's cases. And in one book he moves to New Orleans, and apparently he was there for a while, and then he went back to Miami. I don't know. The overall continuity, I just read random ones. So yeah, it's about half of the magazine is the Mike Shane short story. Then Death Across the Street, another story. So like other detective stories, and there's a tobacco ads. And this looks like the model they used for Mike Shane on some of the photo covers in one of the adverts. Yeah, when things get better, tobacco advertising will be back in on motor racing, of course. And then the Afternoon of Terror, the last story. So the new Mike Shane story takes up about half of the issue, and then the others are about a quarter each. Actually, there's another story in there. Okay, there's a... Right, the Mike Shane takes about half the issue, and then there's actually about 5 other stories that are really short. So yeah, the Mike Shane magazine. Don't know how common these are. This was 75 cents from... I think this is also 75. Yeah, oh yeah, 1975, right. American magazines and comics never have the year on the covers for some reason. It's really weird. Blah blah blah. Don't know what else I can waffle about. Of course, 0 viewers as usual. Yeah, these streams are basically just videos. Maybe one day this channel will get big enough for someone to actually come in and chat, and once everything's on it and it's in front of me, I'm kind of stuck here. And inevitably the connection is unstable, but actually people watching this back will notice no difference at all. Oh, we have some Spider-Man. So there was... Have I got the other one within reach? I don't think so. Where is it? Okay, yes, you may have heard there's a Japanese Spider-Man. Actually, there's 3 Japanese Spider-Mans. So the first one was published by Sun Comics in the 1970s, and I think his name was Show, and it's like a more teenage story. It gets Spider-Man powers in basically the same way, and Electro is the villain, but it's set in Tokyo, and yeah, he's Japanese, and it's completely unrelated to the American Spider-Man. Then there was the Spider-Man TV show, which is kind of famous, and was actually the itchy earphones. This was the pre-film, and apparently that inspired a lot of the other Sentai shows, although apparently there were kind of like proto-Sentai shows before then. But he was the first to like have a giant robot that would fight giant enemies. And anyway, there was another Spider-Man comic in Japan, which is on the same, basically. Well, this time there's a... is that supposed to be Japanified Green Goblin? This is a modern edition with these painted covers, but the actual one is very recognisably from the 70s. You can usually tell the decade a manga's from because there's always a distinct style to each decade, often trying to copy something that was big in the previous decade. So in the 50s everyone was trying to be Tezuka. In the 60s everyone was still trying to be Tezuka. Oh, and here's Electro again. So yeah, there was actually 2 versions of Japanese Spider-Man manga, but they're pretty similar, or at least the art style is pretty similar. Partly because it's from the 70s, and I think it's the same artist, but I haven't got the other one. I had a complete set of the other one, but I don't know where it is now. It's not within reach. We can't really get out. I guess I'll do a proper video about that one day. So yeah, you can always tell the decade of a manga because it's trying to copy whatever was big in the previous decade. So everything in the 50s was trying to be Tezuka, and then everything in the 60s was still trying to be Tezuka. 60s, I don't know. And then, what was the really big one towards the end of the 60s? I forgot now. But yeah, everything in the 70s was trying to be something from around 1968, which I've gone and forgot the name of. Everything in the 80s was trying to be Kochikame. Everything in the 90s was trying to be Ranma Half. Everything in the 2000s was trying to be, I don't know, maybe Dragon Ball. No, One Piece and One Piece or Death Note, or the other one that started at the end of the 90s, Bleach. That's it. That's what everything in the 2000s was trying to be. Everything in the 2010s was trying to be, I I've also forgot. Oh, Naruto, that's it. And it seemed like everything in the 2020s was going to try and be My Hero Academia, but then Demon Slayer, which looks absolutely nothing like My Hero Academia, blew up instead. So the 2020s is going to be a weird one. What else can I waffle about? This is World Comics Review. I can only reach American and Japanese, I do believe. Ah, no, actually. How about some Alex? This is a French comic by somebody. Whoosh, don't burp into the microphone. Jacques Martin, or Jack Martin. Our policy of aggressive anglicisation. So this is very big. So yeah, typical BD style. It's about a Roman and his friend or servant or whatever, and they have travelled to India. They're going along the sailing rather than travelling overland to India and then to China. Of course there was trade overland on the Silk Road, but I don't know how reliable sailing to those places was back in the day. Anyway, they meet the Emperor of China. I guess this is his palace on a lake with a causeway leading out to it. And there's some sort of intrigue. Someone wants to assassinate the Chinese Emperor, and Alex saves him, I suppose. La Aussie, right, so yeah, La Aussie, so an Australian is trying to assassinate the Chinese Emperor, apparently. My French is amazing, as you can tell. And yeah, this is as usual, list of stories at the end. So there's been an awful lot of Alex, and I've never heard of it before until I found this in a shop in somewhere, Tenma, which is the station on the loop line before Osaka, or after Osaka, depending on which way you go, because it's a loop. So yeah, Alex Lefranc, which is like, seems from the titles to be like a secret agent story, and then Jen, which I don't know what that is. Barbie Blue, La Cathedral, Le Lys et le Ogre, possibly a fantasy series because it's got ogre, maybe. So yes, this is Alex, l'Empire de Chiny. How do you say that? I only studied French for about 5 years, so obviously I'm amazing. What else can I waffle about? It's not obscene. Some doujinshi up here, but yeah, doujinshi is doujinshi, so you've got to be very careful about what you show. Here is... No, I can't even show the cover of this one. Okay, I'll show the spine of it. So, very cheaply made doujinshi. I found it's like on photocopying paper, and the spine is gaffer tape, but this is literally all I can show of it. Yeah, actually the back cover. No. The nipples are censored, but I don't know if I want to... Yeah. Doujinshi going... Where's this from, actually? Really pretty... Oh, it's 1993. Okay, I've seen really well-made ones from 1993, so... This is just cheaply made. Like photocopying paper with gaffer tape for a spine. Kind of interesting. Possibly rare, because it's badly made, and I suppose they sold many. What else can I reach that's not obscene? Nothing. No. It's covered. Some retro. Right. 20 minutes already. Who's going to watch all this? Right, Tetsujin 20... Can we see it? Tetsujin 28, anybody? This was released in the West as Gigantor back in the 50s or 60s. At least the anime was. And yeah, this is Capo Comics, which is like a, I guess it was a monthly magazine that reprinted manga, just one manga at a time. So they did a lot of Astro Boy. Back in the day, I bought one for 500 yen, thinking it was the original appearance of the Astro Boy stories. So I thought I'd got a bargain, but actually they originally appeared in other things, and then they were reprinted in Kappa Comics. So anyway, this is a Tetsujin 28, a big robot who fights people, fights bad guys. And here he is. The Nankai line in the Osaka area made a train that looks like the front of Tetsujin 28. So often a railway company will be like X some franchise like Hello Kitty or whatever, and they'll vinyl wrap the train in the pictures of the characters. So there's a Osaka Loop Line train, which is X what do you call it? Universal Studios, Nintendo World. So there's like a train that's vinyl wrapped with all Mario and Luigi and stuff on it. But I think it was not actually recently. It was like 1985 or something. The Nankai line teamed up with Tetsujin 28 and actually designed their trains to look like Tetsujin 28. And once the promotion ended, they couldn't just scrap the trains that they just built. So now they're trying to like act as if the front of the train is an elephant, and the mascot of that type of train, because it's used for the express to go to the airport, is it's like this blue elephant. But yeah, it's obviously Tetsujin 28. Also, it's got these sort of retro-looking big rivets and bolts down the front of it. So it's obviously not an elephant. It's obviously meant to be a robot. And this was it's advertising stamps for Tokyo 1964. Don't know if it's actually from 1964 though. Showa 39. When was that? 1964. Yeah. Yeah, because Showa 59 was 1984, so 20 years before was 1964, right. Okay, so this is actually from the year of the Tokyo Olympics. So, some colour introductory pages. And then immediately into wash, two-colour wash introductory pages. And then, oh, it's actually more colour. Okay, some now no longer pages that are no longer as glossy, but full colour. But obviously the majority is black and white. Oh, okay, it's turned back to colour. This is weird. I haven't actually looked through this before. I just bought it. I probably looked through it at the time and then bagged it and just left it on the shelf. Yeah, it keeps every other page is colour. This is so weird. Right, so black and white. Flip. That's one page and full colour again. This is bizarre. Alright, okay, now it's alright. So now it's just fully black and white. Okay, and now it's pink and brown washes. This is really weird. Okay, I guess it looks. At least be consistent with it. Like maybe have 3 chapters, one in colour, one in wash, and one in black and white. Or like something like a whole chapter in full colour, and then a whole chapter in wash, and then the rest of it in black and white. Okay, now we appear to have a text written story. One big illustration. It's possibly the end of the comic, and then a written story, or maybe an article, but it's got a illustration here. This looks more like a detective murder mystery than a story about a crazy giant robot. Much more realistic art style too. Yeah, look at this. It doesn't look like a 1960s manga anymore. Far more realistic text story illustrative style. I guess that's a bit of filler, some sort of jungle adventure. Somebody captured by a tribe, going to be human sacrificed or whatever. And then some articles about technology, and I've just seen something really interesting actually. But never mind, okay. So this guy, the computer, and the robot from that TV show, Lost in Space. So I guess about robots and computing and stuff. And I just spotted this. So this cover painting was used on a book I got back in like 1996, 97, called Oi Robot, which is a compilation of entries to competitions in a sci-fi magazine in the 60s and 70s. And Oi Robot was kind of like a compilation of the winning entries, and then like the really bad entries that are so bad they're funny. And it had that same cover painting. So, because the book was like comedy, I thought that like this bored robot was a painting that had been made for that book, but apparently not. It appears to have been on a American science fiction magazine back in the day. I need to dig up Oi Robot when I go back to the UK and do a video about it. It's kind of funny. But yeah, I used to use some of the things. One of the articles, one of the competitions was like make up an alien dictionary, or a few entries for an alien dictionary, and I started actually using these alien dictionary words at school. So the bullies had a field day with that, as you can tell, and rightly so, to be honest. And another one was oops, put this away. Oh, I just found an art book. Okay, I want to keep all my artistic guidebooks in the same place next to my desk so I can refer to them. So yeah, I've just found one that was up here for some reason. Well, I'll take that downstairs. I'm just trying to eke this stream out till my dishwasher stops and I can go to bed, to be honest. But yeah, another one of the things in Oi Robot was predict hobbies of the future, and they had things like making art with force fields and stuff like that. But one of the somebody in like the mid 1970s jokingly suggested the hobby of the future would be restoring antique home computers. And it's like, oh, ha ha, so funny, because computers were brand new, but that is actually a legitimate hobby now. So yeah, this comedy competition entry actually successfully predicted the future. Ooh, here's something weird. I wanted to do a video on this, but it's not really worth it. It's 4.9. It's typically called 99.99%, but its name is 4.9. It's apparently South Korean comic. It's set in South Korea, and that's the guy's name, Lee Jang-hyun. The style doesn't look exactly like manga. Obviously, Japan lives in South Korea's head rent-free, and Japan lives in Korea's head rent-free. Different ways in South and North Korea. So, yeah, it's like somebody described manga to me down the phone. But it's about a guy who gets called up to do a national service in Korea, and he's like having these flights of fancy about being with his girlfriend again. There's just a funny scene at the start. This guy, this guy thinks he's cool and hard by like still dressed in hip hop style and looking at his smartphone as he walks along, and the drill sergeant's just like, duh, duh, duh. And yeah, they make these guys like squat naked out in the sun in summertime with the mosquitoes swarming around them. and he's like imagining being back with his girlfriend or a war breaking out. See, I don't know if this is made in Korea and translated to Japanese, or if it's made by like a dissident South Korean who moved to Japan and wants to criticize the military of South Korea or something. I don't know. Actually, I think at the end, obviously I'm still pathetically bad at Japanese. Yeah, still pathetically bad at Japanese, but at the end, they didn't translate this Korean, but then they translated to blah blah blah. I'm moving to Japan, or I'm going to Japan anyway, so he like meets his girlfriend for real and she says she's going to Japan, so maybe it was made in Japan. Oh, this is printed in Japan because this is the Japanese translation, but yeah, was it originally published in South Korea and then just translated, or was it made in Japan by like someone who wants to criticize South Korean military? Do they have national service there? It seems like it. It seems like he's not willingly joining the army. What else can I waffle about? It's going to watch me drink beer. We have... oh, again, chicken. My favourite manga. I've got most of this in English, but I never finished reading it. I probably should. So I've got 1 and 7, and I do have also, I think I've mentioned it before, possibly on my first live stream, or at previous live stream, I have volume 6, a special edition with an official doujinshi in the back. Well, actually no, I mentioned that on the first Takatsuki video about doujinshi, I think. So yeah, that wasn't worth showing again. So yeah, Genshiken. Slow starter if you want to start reading it in English. The first volume and a half are just like, what is happening? This guy joins this otaku club at his university and his girlfriend joins it to try and break it up to rescue him. But the other characters just kind of seem weird. Like Madarame, this character, he's just like sitting there talking to himself and he's trying to invent a character for himself. And, yeah, it just seems really weird, and it kind of drops you into the middle of this club, like the club is established. The club's already established and you kind of join it with the character, so the other members are already talking about stuff. But yeah, stick with it and it's really fun. Yeah, it's kind of weird. It ran from I think 2002 to 2005, and then took a break. I'll just take these earphones out. My microphone runs through an amplifier, but then that cuts off the speakers on the computer, but I don't need to hear anything at the moment. I need to hear something after when I watch this back and see how the audio is. So anyway, again, Shikanami originally ran from 2002 to 2005, but then started up again in like 2012 or something, but they acted as if it was continuing directly on from before. So he kind of retconned the original Genshiken to like 2008 to 2011, I guess. And the anime was even weirder. The anime sort of followed, the first series followed the books pretty much exactly. The second series kind of caught up, so I had to have some filler, and then the third series followed the second series of the manga, which is all the characters are completely changed, and it kind of, so the anime kind of skipped the last 4 volumes of the original manga, so the characters were completely different, and then they kind of hastily filled in the gaps with some flashbacks or something, I think. What else can I waffle about? Do I see some? Aha, well, we've done USA, Japan, South Korea, France. Let's do North Korea. This is something. Has this got any funny, angry illustrations? Oh, it's got an illustration. Okay, Korean is essentially non-existent. So just look at the pictures and guess. Has this guy been fired? Of course not. No one ever gets fired because it's the workers' utopia. So it's part of the collective ownership of his job. Very stern-looking woman outside a school. Some farm workers, not particularly well printed, as I mentioned in the video about Great General Mighty Bee. A lot of the illustrations aren't really well printed, which means the quality printing of Great General Mighty Bee is kind of like really surprising and unusual. It must have been a big effort for them. And just look at this. The really crappy risograph photocopiers at my job can do better than that. Oh, this is in 1974. The modern North Korean books are exactly the same quality as the one from 1974. Oh yeah, this is interesting actually. Korean Handbook. This is a North Korean book in English. It's like a guide to North Korea from 1959. I have seen pictures, a few, like maybe 3 North Korean comics have been published in English. Got to get one of them one day. So, articles about the history of Korea, the Japanese imperialists' occupation, Japanese imperialists' colonial rule. I guess they're not actually wrong about that. The Korean War, the victory in the Korean War. Yet they completely threw back the evil NATO powers and established the workers' paradise. That's exactly what happened. They weren't almost defeated and only stopped because the Soviet Union threatened to get directly involved. I read this whole thing once. It's kind of entertaining. So, building a factory for the workers to work in. Peasants weeding the paddy fields, braving the barbarous US bombing. Bits and pieces about the economy and stuff, how many tractors they built, how many classical works of Marxist-Leninism they produced and stuff. So that was kind of entertaining. When I bought this, it was the one time the guy in the shop I buy them from asked me, "Can you actually read Hangul?" I was like, "This one's in English." He never asked me when I was buying ones that are actually in Hangul. Right, my dishwasher finished. Let's waffle about one more thing and then sleep. Do I have anything else from another country? I think I've exhausted my supply of countries. This is a British comic within reach. I don't think so. Nope, don't look like it. Wait a minute. Aha, hey, how about some manga in French? This is Le Cuicuitu. I got this in Mandaraka years and years ago. They actually had 2 issues of this. I wanted to buy the other one, but someone else had bought it. This is from, I think, 1978. copyright Les Auteurs 1978. So this is a Gekiga or seinen manga translated to French with some articles too. Yoshihiro Tatsumi, who's had some of his works translated to English more recently, including the one with the guys handcuffed together, which I've gone and forgot the name of now. Bits and pieces from Com and Garo and things like that. I've actually got some Com and Garo over there, but that's it might as well be a mile away from how much I can actually move. And Golgo 13 on the back. So see the contents page. So we've got Golgo 13, short story by Yoshihiro Tatsumi. Horia, Fujio Akazuka, Atos Takemoto, Tezuka, some of Tezuka's later adult work for Com. My battery's running low, what the hell? I'm going to have to right, drastic measures, actually move the table. I forgot to switch on the plug-ish. Okay. Right, that was a bit of panic. Nearly 45. Let's make this around 45 minutes. We can go to bed. Right, so looking through the contents of Le Quipitu. Well, that's another Tezuka. L'Hôpital Infernal, the Infernal Hospital by Saburo Kitagawa and Tadashi Matsumori. And another one of Tezuka's adult works from I think Com was this one. Yeah, Garo was the first Gekiga, which is today kind of seinen. I think they're not exactly the same, but close enough. And then Tezuka started Com, which is like his version of Garo, which is where Buddha appeared, I believe. Right, exciting rebagging action. Maybe I should leave this till after I've finished. I've got a Chinese comic over there, but you've seen that one already. It's the one I thought was Vietnamese till I found it out from Hong Kong or Taiwan. No, you've seen that already. Leopard of Lime Street. I'll do a full video about that one day. How about some Christian fundamentalism? This is This Present Darkness. It's a paperback, so just text, but it's about angels and devils fighting over a town. Kind of a nice Jack chick, I guess. So it's like a story of corrupt town officials, corrupt sheriff, corrupt pastor of a big mega church, and a kind of small crusading newspaper being intimidated by the corrupt police. But then there's also a side story of like the crusading journalists, Christian fundamentalists, and they've got angels helping them, and demons and the devil are helping the corrupt cops and the mega church guy. And then it ends up with a big battle with the demons and devils fighting the angels, but all invisibly. But a few people who are praying, like a few Christian fundamentalists, can sort of hear the battle and vaguely perceive it. But mostly people aren't aware of it. But at the same time as that's happening, the FBI come and arrest all the corrupt cops and mega church guy for like corruption and tax evasion and stuff. So kind of entertaining. And that makes it 45 minutes. So time to sleep. That's my waffling stream about bits and pieces. I should change the title and so what I actually talked about. Anyway, perhaps I'll stream again tomorrow night. I don't know. Depends if I fancy drinking any more beer or not.